You know, that feeling, that spark, that idea pops into your head, and you think, wow, this is it. This could actually change things.
Oh yeah, that electric moment.
Exactly. But then you share it, and crickets.
Right.
Or maybe just a polite nod. It just doesn't land.
Right. It's baffling sometimes.
So today we're doing a deep dive into why. Why do some of those brilliant ideas really catch on, go mainstream, while others just fizzle?
Mm.
We're aiming to crack the code, basically go from huh to wow.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because it's often not just about how good the idea is on its own merits.
Not at all.
There's this whole ecosystem around it. How you navigate that ecosystem is, well, pretty much make or break.
Totally. We've been looking at some really solid research, things that break down these core principles for making innovation stick. And our mission here is simple, really.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give you, the listener, insights you can actually use right away. Maybe for a new project, a business venture, or heck, even just getting a different perspective across. These ideas apply.
And these aren't just, theories pulled out of thin air. They're based on looking at what actually worked and what didn't for real innovations.
Exactly. Patterns.
Yeah.
So here's the plan. We're hitting 7 key concepts.
Okay.
First, finding those crucial first believers. Second, understanding that scary gap where good ideas often get stuck.
A chasm.
Third, why starting focused, being a big fish in a small pond, is so smart. Fourth, giving people the whole package, everything they need.
Right, not just the core thing.
Fifth, making it crystal clear what your idea actually is, showing who you are. Sixth, how to get the word out effectively to the right folks. And seventh, finally, how you scale that initial buzz into a huge crowd.
Think of them like stepping stones, maybe. You kind of need to tread carefully on each one to give your idea the best shot.
You got it. So get ready for some actionable stuff, maybe a few surprises, to help your ideas take root.
Let's jump right into the first one. Finding your first believers. The early fans. Okay, yeah. This is ground zero. These are the people, the ones who are just naturally drawn to new things. Innovators, tech enthusiasts, visionaries sometimes.
Like the people lining up for the latest gadget release.
Exactly like that. They're not always dissecting every single feature initially. They're excited by the potential, the promise of something different, something groundbreaking.
Right. And our sources really stress there are huge benefits to focusing on them first. Like, number 1, feedback. Massive.
Oh, absolutely critical. They're your beta testers out in the wild. And because they're genuinely excited, they're often more tolerant of, early glitches.
Yeah.
But crucially, they give you insights you just wouldn't get otherwise. It's like designing a playground without asking kids what they like to play on. You might build something impressive, but nobody uses it.
It's an analogy.
Yeah.
Okay. Second benefit.
Yeah.
They become your cheerleading squad.
Totally. Their enthusiasm is infectious. They start the buzz, get other people curious just by talking about it.
And third, their early use is like proof, social proof.
Yes. It shows your idea isn't just a concept on paper. It works. People are using it. That builds confidence for the next wave of people, the ones who are a bit more cautious.
That validation seems key if you don't get it.
Then your idea just feels risky, unproven. Those early wins, even small ones, they lay the groundwork. And skipping this step, big consequences.
Like what? What happens if you ignore these guys?
Well, for starters, you might spend ages building something nobody actually wants because you never got that crucial early input.
Ouch, yeah.
Your idea might just look too out there, too experimental for anyone else to bite, and you miss that golden chance to iron out the kinks before you try to go big.
So, looking at successful U.S. companies, what are they doing right here? How do they connect?
Well, releasing beta software is classic. Tech companies do it all the time. Give it to the geeks, they find the bugs, suggest features, win-win.
Makes sense.
Or targeting specific online groups, forums, Reddit communities, Facebook groups where enthusiasts hang out, going right to where the passion is. And offering early access deals, special perks. It rewards those first movers and makes them feel invested, part of the journey.
And conversely, where do companies mess this up?
Oh.
We see ideas fail here all the time.
Oh, yeah. Launching a product full of bugs that early testers would have caught in a heartbeat, that leads to terrible initial reviews, hard to recover.
Right, bad start.
Or trying to please everyone from day one. That just dilutes the message. You don't excite those core early fans, and nobody else really gets it either.
Spreading yourself too thin.
Exactly. And just not building those relationships, not talking to the influencers within those early groups, missing out on that powerful word of mouth.
So, okay, bringing it back to the learner, how do you apply this? for your own thing.
Start by figuring out who these people are for your idea. Who'd be naturally interested? Where do they hang out online or offline? Specific forums, industry groups.
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe. Then reach out. Don't wait for perfection. Share early versions, maybe just the concept. Ask for their honest opinion. Listen. Really listen. And show them their feedback matters. Make them feel like partners.
The source material mentioned the first iPhone. It wasn't perfect, far from it. But Apple knew who to target first.
Right, the tech crowd, the enthusiasts, they overlooked the flaws because they saw the revolutionary potential. Their excitement, their feedback was gold for Apple moving forward.
So the takeaway for the learner is identify your early fans. Figure out where they are, how to talk to them, and how to make them part of your story from the start.
Precisely. Okay, ready for the next hurdle.
Let's do it. Concept number 2, the scary gap. Why great ideas sometimes get stuck.
Yes, the infamous chasm. This is a really critical transition point. It's the gap between those early fans we just talked about, the enthusiasts, and the next much bigger group, the early majority.
And they're different, right? The early majority.
Very different. They're more pragmatic, less tolerant of risk. They need to see practical benefits, solid proof, before they jump on board.
So it's like you get that initial buzz, sales are maybe looking good, and then wham, things slow down or stop.
That's the chasm in action. And understanding it is vital. For one, it means you can actually prepare for that potential slowdown. You won't panic if sales dip after the initial hype.
Okay, preparation. What else?
It forces you to think about what this new audience needs. Novelty alone won't cut it anymore. They want reliability, solutions to real problems. It shifts your focus.
Right.
And third, it stops you from, say, spending wildly based on those early, potentially misleading sales figures, avoids premature scaling.
Makes sense. And the consequences of not seeing this gap coming, just charging ahead blindly.
Well, you hit that brick wall, like you said, sales plummet, and you don't know why.
Confusion, panic maybe?
Definitely. You might burn through all your cash because you assumed that early growth curve would just keep going up and up. And honestly, the saddest part, good ideas get abandoned here. People get discouraged, think the idea itself failed, when really they just didn't navigate the transition.
So how do smart companies bridge this? What are the strategies we see working, particularly in the U.S.?
Getting endorsements helps a lot, like from respected figures or established businesses that the early majority already trusts. It lends credibility.
Yeah, borrowed trust.
Exactly. Also, really hammering home the practical, real-world benefits. Show, don't just tell, how it solves a specific problem better than the old way. Concrete results.
Proof points.
And partnerships can be key too. Teaming up with other companies to offer a more complete, integrated solution makes it feel less risky, easier to adopt for the pragmatists.
Gotcha. And the mistakes. Where do companies trip up trying to cross this chasm?
Biggest one. Using the exact same marketing message that worked on the enthusiasts. All that tech talk, the focus on newness, it just doesn't fly with the early majority. They want utility, value.
Still the language needed.
Totally. Also, poor customer support or a clunky setup process. This group needs hand-holding, reassurance. Friction kills adoption here. And pricing. What an early adopter pays for bragging rights, the early majority sees as too expensive unless the value is blindingly obvious and proven.
So for the learner listening, how do they apply this? What's the mindset shift?
Recognize you're talking to a new crowd. Focus relentlessly on the practical problem you solve. Make it tangible.
Less sizzle, more steak?
Pretty much. Show reliability, ease of use, the support that's available, use case studies, testimonials from people like them who've already benefited. Build that case for practical value.
The sources brought up personal computers again. Hobbyists loved the tech itself.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until things like easy-to-use word processors and, crucially, spreadsheets like Lotus 123 came along that businesses, the early majority, saw the practical need.
Exactly. It solved real business problems. That's what opened the floodgates. So, for the learner, what's the concrete problem your idea solves for everyday people or businesses? How can you prove it's a safe, reliable, valuable choice for them?
Good questions to ponder. Okay, let's move to principle number 3. Picking your first target, or, as you put it, being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, this is a really powerful strategy, especially for crossing that chasm we just discussed. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone right away, you focus, laser focus, on one specific, well-defined niche market first.
The analogy in the sources was great, the lemonade stand. Trying to sell your unique sour lemonade at a giant fair versus setting up right outside a meeting of, like the Sour Candy Lovers Association.
Exactly. Your odds are way better with the focus group, right? And there are solid reasons why this works. First, you can become the dominant player in that small market relatively quickly. Easier to make noise, get noticed.
Build momentum faster.
Right. Second, succeeding there gives you fantastic references. Real success stories, happy customers in that niche who then become proof points for expanding outwards. Powerful word of mouth.
Credibility builders.
And third, it's much easier to build that whole product, the complete solution, when you're tailoring it for a very specific group whose needs you understand deeply.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the flip side? What happens if you don't pick a niche? Try to go broad from the get-go.
Well, you end up spreading your resources. Money people, attention way too thin, trying to satisfy too many different needs at once.
Jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing.
Precisely. You likely fail to become a leader anywhere, and you miss out on that intense loyalty and buzz that comes from really nailing it for a tightly connected group.
Can you give us some real-world examples, U.S. companies that did this well?
Oh, sure. Apple with the Macintosh and graphic designers initially, that was classic niche targeting. They owned that space.
Yeah, I remember that.
Lots of software companies start this way. Focusing only on, say, dental practices or independent bookstores become the go-to solution for that specific vertical.
Uh-huh.
And think about online platforms. Many started super niche, a specific game, a particular hobby, and built out from that dedicated user base.
So where do companies get this wrong? What are the common mistakes in picking or not picking a target?
Trying to cram in features for every possible user group. The result, a bloated product that doesn't really delight anyone.
Feature creep?
Big time. Or jumping straight into a huge established market without a clear angle, a specific segment they can realistically win, just getting lost in the noise.
Yeah, tough to compete then.
And crucially, not taking the time to build that solid reputation and fan base within a smaller community first, trying to leapfrog that essential step.
So for the learner listening, thinking about their idea,
Yeah.
how do they find their small pond?
Don't try to boil the ocean, seriously. Look for a specific group of people who feel the pain point your idea solves most acutely. Who would get the most value, the fastest?
Most desperate customers, almost.
In a way, yeah. Focus all your energy there first. Understand them inside out. Make them incredibly happy. Their success becomes your springboard. It's like the bowling analogy, hit that head pin, that perfect niche just right.
And the rest are more likely to fall. Okay, got it. So the learner needs to brainstorm. Which specific small groups would get a massive win from my idea? And which of those is the easiest to actually reach and serve well right now?
That's the exercise. Now, this leads nicely into our fourth point. Having the whole package. Giving people everything they need.
Right, because just having the core invention isn't enough, especially once you're aiming for that mainstream early majority audience.
Yeah.
They want the complete solution. Easy button.
Exactly. Think about buying, I don't know, a fancy new coffee machine. If it requires you to separately buy a specific grinder, special filters only available online, and the instructions are in code, that's not a whole product.
That's a hassle.
Precisely. Offering the whole product, the core thing, plus all the necessary support, accessories, instructions, maybe training makes adoption way easier for the mainstream. They don't want to be systems integrators.
Less friction.
Leads to happier customers, obviously. They feel supported, successful, and they become your best salespeople through recommendations.
Good point.
And it actually creates a barrier for competitors. They can't just copy your core tech. They have to replicate the entire support system and ecosystem you've built.
Okay, so what are the risks if you don't deliver this? If you just ship the core product and hope for the best?
The mainstream folks will likely find it too complicated, incomplete, too much work.
Yeah, they'll stall.
You're basically forcing customers to figure out the missing pieces themselves, which they often won't bother doing or can't.
Right.
So you end up with this reputation, yeah, cool idea, but kind of a pain to actually use, not what you want.
Definitely not. Examples of companies doing the whole package really well.
Microsoft Windows is a huge one. It wasn't just the OS, it was the massive amount of compatible software, the training industry that sprang up, the tech support networks. That whole ecosystem made it the standard.
Right, the ecosystem was key.
Complex business software companies almost always do this. They offer implementation, training, consulting, ongoing support. It's part of the deal.
You need it with complex stuff.
And think about Amazon. It's not just a website selling things. It's the reviews, the easy ordering, the fast delivery, the simple returns. That's the whole shopping experience they deliver.
True. Okay, and where do companies mess this up? What's the failure mode here?
Launching with terrible documentation or basically zero customer support, that just creates frustration and kills momentum.
Yeah, instant turnoff.
Assuming that other companies will magically create all the necessary add-ons or complementary services your customers need, risky bet.
Leaving it to chance.
And just being obsessed with the core technology while ignoring usability, the setup process, the day-to-day experience for a non-expert user. That's a classic engineer trap sometimes.
So for the learner, how do they start thinking about their whole package?
Step outside your inventor brain. Put on your customer hat. What does a typical user need from start to finish to get the full value from your idea? What questions will they have? What tools will they need? What problems might they run into?
Map the whole journey.
Exactly. List everything.
Yep.
Instructions, support channels, maybe compatible accessories, training guides. Then figure out, what must we provide directly? What can we maybe achieve through partnerships with others?
The electric car example is relevant again here, isn't it? The car is cool, but
without a reliable, widespread charging network, a key part of the whole product mainstream adoption was always going to be slow. That infrastructure is crucial.
got it. So
Yeah.
the learner, list everything your customer needs for success. Decide what you build, what you partner for to deliver that complete experience.
Okay, moving right along to number 5. Showing who you are. Making it easy for people to understand. This is positioning.
Clarity is king, right? If people don't instantly get what your thing is, who it's for, and why it's better, you've lost them.
You really have. The analogy used was like trying to sell ice cream without saying the flavor or what makes it special. We have frozen dessert. Not very compelling. No.
So strong positioning, being super clear. What are the payoffs?
Well, first, potential customers actually understand what you're selling and if it fits their needs. Sounds basic, but it's huge.
Cuts through the noise.
Exactly. Second, it helps you stand out. By highlighting what makes you unique, you give people a reason to choose you over the competition, other than just price.
Differentiation.
And third, it keeps all your marketing focused. Everyone's singing from the same song sheet. Your message is consistent and hits the target audience effectively.
Makes sense. And the downsides of weak positioning, being vague or confusing.
Confusion number 1. People just don't get it. What does it do? Who needs this?
They scroll past.
Right. You also get lumped in with competitors. If you don't clearly state your difference, customers default to comparing you on price alone, which is usually a tough game to win.
Race to the bottom.
And your marketing budget gets wasted. You're shouting into the void because your message isn't specific or compelling enough for any particular group.
Examples of strong positioning from U.S. companies.
Car companies are usually pretty good at this. Jeep means rugged, off-road. Volvo means safety. You instantly get a picture.
Yeah, very clear identities.
Take taglines often do this well. Nike's Just Do It isn't about shoes. It's about aspiration, action. It positions the brand. Even fast food positioned by speed, price, type of food, burgers, tacos, etc. They stake out their territory.
Okay. And the mistakes competitors make here. Where does positioning go wrong?
Trying to be the everything solution, it just muddies the waters. Nobody knows what you really stand for.
The all things to all people trap again.
Yeah, it's persistent. Also, failing to explain why you're different or better than what people are already using. If it's not clear, why switch?
Inertia wins.
And chopping and changing your message all the time, chasing trends, it confuses customers and weakens your brand identity.
So for the learner, how do they nail their positioning?
Simplicity is key. Find the clearest, most concise way to explain. What is it? Who is it for? What's the main benefit or unique advantage?
The elevator pitch, almost.
Kind of, yeah. Know your ideal customer inside out. Know the core problem you solve for them. Look at competitors, sure, but focus on your unique strength. Maybe it's the easiest accounting software for freelance creatives. Specific, clear benefit, target audience.
Right. So the learner, try this. Write down in 1 or 2 sentences max what your idea is, who it helps, and why it's special. Getting that tight can be really clarifying.
Absolutely. Okay, that sets us up for number 6. Getting the word out, telling the right people in the right way.
And this is different now, right? We've crossed the chasm. We're talking to the mainstream, the early majority. The way we communicate has to change from how we talked to those early enthusiasts.
Totally different ballgame. This audience is more skeptical, more pragmatic. Your communication needs to build trust and show proven value.
So what are the benefits of getting this communication right at this stage?
Well, primarily you build that crucial trust and credibility with this cautious group. You show them it's not some risky experiment anymore.
Reduces perceived risk.
Exactly. It also demonstrates momentum, social proof. Look, people like me are using this and succeeding. That's powerful encouragement,
Safety in numbers.
which ultimately drives broader adoption, makes choosing your solution feel like the smart, sensible thing to do.
And if you communicate badly here, what are the risks?
They might just never hear about you. Or if all they hear is hype directly from you, they'll likely remain skeptical. Of course they say it's great.
Yeah, need that third-party validation sometimes.
Right. And you can pour money down the drain on marketing messages or channels that just don't resonate with this group's mindset or information habits.
So what does work? What strategies do companies use effectively to reach the mainstream?
Testimonials and case studies are huge, especially from customers who look and sound like the prospects you're trying to reach. Peer validation.
Relatability.
Big time. Being visible where they already are, relevant industry conferences, trade shows, professional associations, shows you're part of their world.
Builds presence.
And cultivating relationships with trusted sources they rely on, maybe trade publications, influential bloggers, industry analysts. Getting positive mentions there carries a lot of weight.
Independent credibility. And the mistakes.
Yeah.
Where do communication efforts fall flat with the mainstream?
Relying too much on flashy advertising that feels like empty hype. This audience often tunes that out.
Seen it all before.
Not having enough relatable references. If they can't see anyone like them using it, it still feels foreign or risky.
Doesn't connect.
And still talking too much about how new or revolutionary it is, instead of focusing on the proven, practical results and benefits it delivers today.
Gotcha. So for the learner, what's the approach to getting the word out now?
Shift from telling to showing. Use evidence. Share success stories from customers who mirror your target audience. Get endorsements from people or organizations they respect.
Build the case with proof.
Yeah. Frame it less as the risky new thing and more as the smart emerging standard. Think about online learning. It gained traction through university endorsements, employer acceptance, and countless student success stories, not just ads saying learn online.
Right. The ecosystem of proof grew. So the learner needs to ask, where does my mainstream target audience get their trusted information? Who influences their decisions? And how can I get my message backed by proof into those channels?
That's the strategic thinking needed. Okay, brings us to the final principle, number 7, growing big and strong, turning fans into a huge crowd.
So you've made it. You crossed the chasm. The mainstream is adopting. But you can't just coast now, right? This is about the long game.
Absolutely not. Complacency is the enemy here. This stage is about sustaining growth, keeping current customers happy, and continuing to attract new ones. It's about building an enduring success, not just a flash in the pan.
What are the benefits of focusing on this long-term view?
Well, you build a loyal customer base that sticks with you, maybe buys more over time, and keeps advocating for you. That's incredibly valuable.
Reduces churn, increases lifetime value.
Exactly. It also provides the profits and stability needed to reinvest in making your product even better, exploring new opportunities, fueling the next wave of growth.
Virtuous cycle.
And ultimately, it just builds a much more secure, resilient business that can weather storms and stay relevant for the long haul.
And the dangers of not focusing here. Taking your eye off the ball after the initial win.
Competitors will catch up, or new ones will emerge with better solutions. If you're standing still, you'll lose customers.
Innovation doesn't stop.
Never! Your market share can shrink if you're not continually bringing new people into the fold. And eventually, the business just stagnates, becomes irrelevant, and declines. Happens all the time.
So what do successful companies do to keep growing strong? What are the strategies?
Continuous improvement is key. Think Apple always releasing new versions, adding features, keeping things fresh. They don't rest.
Constant evolution.
Investing significantly in R&D. Staying ahead of the curve, anticipating where the market is going, developing the next big thing before someone else does.
Looking forward.
And often expanding their offerings. Broadening the product line, moving into adjacent markets, offering more complete solutions to capture more of the customer's needs.
Becoming indispensable. And the mistakes competitors make that lead to stagnation or decline.
Complacency is number 1. Just assuming their current success will last forever without continued effort and innovation. Fatal.
Resting on laurels.
Ignoring their existing customers. Focusing all energy on chasing new sales while letting the current base feel neglected or unhappy. They'll eventually leave.
Leaky bucket syndrome.
And simply failing to adapt. The market shifts, new tech emerges, customer needs change. If you don't adapt, you become a dinosaur.
So for the learner, how do they ensure their great idea becomes a lasting success?
Never stop listening to your customers. Keep iterating, keep improving based on their feedback and the changing landscape. Always be looking for the next opportunity, the next enhancement, the next way to deliver value.
Stay hungry.
Basically, yes. Build on that initial beachhead you established in your niche, leverage the mainstream adoption, but keep pushing forward to become a true market leader. Look at Amazon Bookstore to Everything Store. Constant evolution.
Incredible journey. Okay, so the learner's final reflection point. How can I keep my current customers delighted and turn them into long-term advocates? And looking ahead, what new offerings or improvements could attract an even bigger audience and keep my idea thriving?
And that wraps up our exploration of these 7 keys to taking an idea from huh to wow, getting it adopted, crossing the chasm, and building something strong and lasting.
Yeah, quite a journey. So just a super quick recap. We hit finding early fans, navigating that tricky chasm, the power of starting niche, delivering the whole package, clear positioning, smart communication for the mainstream, and that crucial focus on long-term growth.
Get those pieces right, or at least understand them, and you significantly boost your idea's chances.
Absolutely. So for our final thought today, the learner, here's something to chew on. Think about one specific idea you're working on right now. Based on everything we've discussed, what do you see as the biggest chasm, the trickiest transition you need to navigate? And more importantly, what's one concrete action you could take maybe this week to start building a bridge across it?
Great question to end on. Keep exploring, keep applying these ideas.
You know, that feeling, that spark, that idea pops into your head. And you think, wow, this is it. This could actually change things.
Oh yeah, that electric moment.
Exactly. But then you share it and crickets.
Right.
Or maybe just a polite nod. It just doesn't land.
Right. It's baffling sometimes.
So today we're doing a deep dive into why. Why do some of those brilliant ideas really catch on, go mainstream, while others just fizzle? We're aiming to crack the code, basically go from huh to wow.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because it's often not just about how good the idea is on its own merits.
Not at all.
There's this whole ecosystem around it. How you navigate that ecosystem is, well, pretty much make or break.
Totally. We've been looking at some really solid research, things that break down these core principles for making innovation stick. And our mission here is simple, really. We want to give you, the listener, insights you can actually use right away. Maybe for a new project, a business venture, or heck, even just getting a different perspective across. These ideas apply.
And these aren't just, theories pulled out of thin air. They're based on looking at what actually worked and what didn't for real innovations.
Exactly. Patterns.
Yeah.
So here's the plan. We're hitting 7 key concepts.
Okay.
First, finding those crucial first believers. Second, understanding that scary gap where good ideas often get stuck.
The chasm.
Third, why starting focused, being a big fish in a small pond, is so smart. Fourth, giving people the whole package, everything they need.
Right, not just the core thing.
Fifth, making it crystal clear what your idea actually is, showing who you are. Sixth, how to get